5 ways to become mentally stronger from a licensed therapist. Number 1, recognize when things are outside of your control. This one's hard, but it's key. So often, outcomes are out of our hands, yet we convince ourselves that even a tiny bit of influence means full responsibility. Instead, try focusing on what you can control. Judge yourself by how well you did what's within your reach and let go of the rest. Number 2, think usefully, not positively. It's tempting to focus on positive thinking, but sometimes that can lead to overconfidence. And while we don't want to stay stuck in negativity, what we need is something more practical. Ask yourself, is this thought useful? This reframes your mindset, helping you stay efficient and mindful rather than getting sidetracked by unrealistic optimism or pessimism. Number 3, learn to detach from your thoughts. This idea by Dr. Stephen Hayes from Acceptance and Commitment Therapy suggests practicing detachment by turning your thoughts into silly voices or imagining them in playful fonts. This makes it easier not to take your thoughts too seriously, helping them lose some of their emotional charge. Number 4, go on a positive scavenger hunt. At the end of the day, try to think of every small positive thing that happened. When you think you're done, push yourself to find 3 or 4 more. This can feel like those last few push-ups. It's tough, but it's where your brain really starts rewiring itself to see the world with realistic optimism. Number 5, do one thing a day outside of your comfort zone. This could mean taking on a task that you're not totally sure you can handle, or maybe it's putting yourself in a new social situation. It's anything that risks a negative emotion or lets you sit with discomfort until it passes. Doing this regularly teaches your brain that you can step outside of your comfort zone, and this is where real growth happens. 5 ways to improve your mental health from a licensed therapist. Number 1, have things to look forward to. Schedule something that's a week out, a month out, and 6 months out. Having events on the horizon can give you something to hold on to, even on the toughest days. Number 2, positive scavenger hunt. Reflect on the last 24 hours and look for the good things that have happened, especially the small ones we often overlook. These little moments like a warm conversation, a few minutes of sunshine, or completing a small task are the most impactful. Take a moment to ask yourself not only what went well, but why it was good. This practice helps train your brain not to overlook these positive moments in the future. Number 3, connect with high-quality people. Seek out people who uplift and understand you. This can be challenging, but try starting with shared interest. Love reading? Try a book club. Into fitness? Join a local sports group. These activities can naturally lead you toward a supportive and inclusive circle over time. Number 4, move your body. Any movement counts. The body's designed for activity, but when we feel down, it's easy to feel stuck. Movement, even in small amounts, signals to your brain that you're engaged with life. It doesn't need to be something too intense, just get moving. And number 5, practice deep breathing when calm. Deep breathing isn't just for moments of stress. Practicing it when you're calm helps keep you regulated before you can become emotionally dysregulated. Think of it as a way to prepare emotionally for the day ahead.
What would you do if I told you that right now I could give you something that would undoubtedly improve the quality of your life and every relationship that you're in? Would you listen and would you apply it? Or would you keep scrolling and stay stuck another year? My name is Delise and I'm a licensed psychotherapist. Mastering your emotions, mastering your thought world will change your whole life. And the way you do that is to never take what anybody else says or does personally. That's the start. If you manage the meaning that you're making out of a situation, then you can change everything. Let me give you an example. So if you're offended or sad or depressed and you say, he makes me, she makes me, you're not in charge of your thought world. You're not in charge of your emotions because you're a victim of what other people say and what other people do. Here's a little example. If you invite me to your house for dinner and I say, sure, and then you say, okay, so bring this, and this, basically the whole dinner. I could be super offended and I could judge you and tell you, God, like, how rude. I can manage my thoughts about the situation. I can say, very interesting that that's what she wants, but no, I'm not going to do that. And then I can have a boundary for myself and take good care of me instead of being bothered. And I can say, yeah, no, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not going to bring everything. And then I can still have love for you. I can still feel peaceful inside my body instead of all offended. So manage your thoughts, never take things personally, and experience emotional freedom. You can be happy independent of what anyone else says, thinks, or does. That's freedom.
How would you remove the stigma of mental illness? By showing the commonality of it, by showing the absolute humanity of it, by sharing it, by not leaving people alone with it, to think there's something terribly wrong with them, and by telling other people that these people that are diagnosable with this, that, and the other, they're ordinary human beings whose so-called mental illnesses are normal responses to abnormal circumstances. Something happened to them to push them in that direction. So it's by talking about it. And in all my books, and you've been very open about your own stuff, and in all my books, I talk about my own dysfunctions and traumas, and to the extent that I've worked them out or haven't worked them out. And I think Harry's absolutely right. You remove the stigma by talking about it, by owning it, by not making people feel isolated and deficient because they have mental health challenges.
Yeah.
These are the 3 best types of exercise for your mental health. My name is Dr. Shalil Mohammed. I'm a consultant psychiatrist, and my job is to diagnose and treat mental health conditions. We all know that exercise is one of the best things that you can do for your mental health, but what type of exercise is best? Earlier this year, a meta-analysis was published of different types of exercise to treat depression. And by the way, meta-analyses are generally the best type of scientific evidence. They found that there are 3 types of exercise which are best at treating depression. Number 1 is yoga. This was actually most effective in older adults, and surprisingly, yoga was more effective at treating depression in men than it was in women. Number 2 is walking or jogging. This is the best type of exercise overall to treat symptoms of depression. And number 3 is strength training. This was more effective in younger adults than it was in older adults, and also it might surprise you that strength training was more effective at treating depression in women than it was in men. And if you're wondering about the intensity of exercise required, they found that the benefits were proportional to the intensity, meaning the more intense the exercise, the better effect it had on depression. And one of the most important things from this study was that they found that exercise was at least as effective at treating depression as antidepressant medications. And people who exercised and took antidepressants saw even more benefit.